Alright guys, this video is about break-even analysis. Oop, that was the phone. Doing it manually, okay, just doing it with mathematical calculations, no graphing yet, no calculators. Unfortunately, the book doesn't actually show you how to do it with a graph, so there's going to be a following video that really delves into how to do a graph of break-even, because you're expected to do that. But here, we're just going to do it simply. So, if all else fails, or if you're asked to just work out what the break-even is with maths, you can do it. So, the first thing to understand is that business have two types of costs. They're fixed costs and they're variable costs. So, fixed costs are the ones that stay the same even if the business is making heaps of product or not very much at all. So, stuff like the rent, okay? The rent of the factory isn't going to change depending on if you made one of the things that you're making or 100 of them, okay? The wages, you're paying the same amount of people, they might be working a bit slower if you're making less stuff, but you still have to pay them at the end of the day. And council rates and electricity, that sort of thing, they're not going to change depending on how much stuff you make. So that's what a fixed cost is, basically the expenses in a profit and loss statement that we've had a look at before. However, the variable costs, so the other costs that businesses have, are the costs associated with making each and every single item the business sells. So if a business is selling burgers, then every single burger is going to have ingredients that you have to buy in to put it together. So the more burgers you make, the bigger the variable cost is going to be. Say you had each burger's ingredients cost $2, and you made, say, one burger. That'd be $2 of variable cost. But if you made 100 burgers, that'd be $200 of variable cost. So you can see how the variable costs change depending on the level of production. So the cost associated with each item the business sells. So you can express variable costs as number of units sold times by however much the variable cost per unit is. So in total, if you add it all up together, you can express the cost of any business as being the total costs for running a business is going to be the variable costs, which is this, in and of itself, plus its fixed costs. Now, that's the cost for the business. The other side of a business is actually making money, which we talk about as being the revenue. After making its products, a business sells them. Its revenue also depends on the number of units sold. So like before, we've said the variable costs depend on the number of the units that they're sold and they're making. The revenue is also dependent on how many things that they sell, and then what you decided to sell them at. So you can express the total revenue as the number of units sold times by the selling price per unit, and that's what revenue is. So that brings us to what break even is. When the total costs of a business are exactly equal to the revenue that it makes, the business has broken even, or a business breaks even. That is where the business neither earns or loses any money. So it hasn't made any money, it hasn't lost any money. And so that is what break even is, when the revenue, the money it's making, is equal to the total costs it needs to run. So that's not making a profit. So you can quickly work out how many items a business is to make to break even by finding and using these formulas here. These are the two that you're going to work together, use together to find the break-even level of any company, answer the questions that are coming up. You need to find how much money you make per unit made, and that's going to be the selling price, however much you sold it for, take how much it costs you to make that thing. Once you've found that out, you can input it into this equation, which will tell you the number of those things you need to make to break even, which is equal to the fixed costs that you've worked out previously divided by however much money you made per unit. And what is this equation here telling you? It's basically saying that it's basically telling you how many things you need to make to ensure the profit from each of those things accounts for all of the business's fixed costs. That is when you would break even. Okay? So the best way to illustrate this would probably do an example. So let's get into that. A business makes burgers with ingredients costing 45 cents, 50 cents, another 45 cents, 5 cents, and the wrapper being another 5 cents, and they sell those burgers for $4.50 each. And the business's total fixed costs for rent, electricity, wages, gas, the cost of stuff that's not going to change depending on how many burgers they make is going to be $800 per week. So we would be asked to work out how many burgers this business need to sell each week to break even. So we have to look at the formulas we're going to play with. We need to work out what the marginal income per unit is, and then input that into here. But further, we need to work out what the variable cost per unit is in total. It's not just the mince, it's not just the bread, it's all combined. So variable cost per burger is going to be 45 cents plus 50 cents plus 45 cents again, plus 5 cents, and plus another 5 cents. Let me check that in the calculator. 0.45 plus 0.5 plus 0.45 plus 0.05 plus 0.05. That should come out to $1.50 variable cost per burger. So we have done the variable cost per burger. So we need to work out the marginal income per burger. Marginal income per burger is going to be the selling price. How much did they say they were selling it for? $4.50 minus the variable cost per burger, which is $1.50. Where am I getting the formula for that? Just check again. That's here. All we're doing is this right now to work out the income, how much money they're getting from every burger that they sell. $4.50 take $1.50 is going to be $3. They make $3 on every burger that they sell. And then for break even, the number to break even production level, because that's what that formula is working out. How many things that they need to make, going with their selling price and their fixed cost to break even. Break-even production level is going to be, what are their fixed costs? Well, look at the question. Their fixed costs per week are $800. So they need to break even, they need to make up $800 per week from selling their burgers to not lose money or gain money. So it's going to be 800 over $3. And that is going to be 800 divided by 3, 266.666667, obviously recurring. So it's going to be, no, it's not dollars, sorry. That is a big mistake, don't do that. We are not talking dollars here, we're talking about production level. So we're talking about number of burgers. So you will always round up to the nearest whole. If you round down and say 266 burgers, that will be wrong because you won't have broken even. You need this much more of a burger to actually break even, so you'll always be rounding up. So it's going to be 267 burgers sold per week, made and sold per week to break even. And so we have calculated, and the formula says, oh, that's the production level. But remember, the question might ask, are there any assumptions made? Yes. This assumes all burgers made are actually sold. So keep an eye out on that. You may have a question asking, are any assumptions made? Yeah, this calculation is only going to work and be true if they actually sell these 267 burgers. They make them and sell them. They will break even if that happens. So that is working out the break-even production level manually using just maths, just those two formula. The next video will be on displaying this on a graph and working it out from the equation of lines, which you will need to do. Alright, I'll see you on the next video.